disclaimer before we get anywhere in this video. This video is going to have a lot of discussion, probably, of hair removal, female body hair, PCOS, periods, hormones. If it's a problem exclusive to people with uteruses, then it's probably coming up in this video. And there will also be hair removal in this video, okay? So if you are uncomfortable with any of that, if you are just a sort of typical bloke, or if you are in any way not happy with watching content about body hair, periods, PCOS, reproductive issues, that kind of thing, then this is not the video for you. Piss off, scroll away, that's fine. It's not going to be a video for everyone. And anyone who does stay to watch me wax my face and to discuss beards and PCOS and periods and everything like that, hi, I'm waxing my face today. Because why not? It's time. It's that time again where I need to wax my face. I'm going to attempt to give you a rundown of everything I use to wax my face myself at home. However, I'm going to preface all of this by saying that if I could, then I absolutely would still be visiting a proper waxing expert in order to do this. I am by no means a waxing expert. My technique is probably terrible. My level of attention to detail is probably terrible. I seriously managed to hurt myself. It's very painful doing it myself compared to having the lovely Gemma waxing my face, which she used to be my waxer, but then I became unemployed. And then there was a pandemic and a lockdown and everything like that, and I couldn't afford to keep getting waxed. So I started waxing my face myself. I got some recommendations from Gemma for wax kits and the best tools for doing it at home through the lockdown. I tend to do it probably about every 5 or 6 weeks. Let me show you what I use. I don't know what this is called, hang on. I use, recommended by my esthetician, who really knows her stuff. She's amazing and I miss her a lot. I use the Hive brow waxing kit. It's the brow waxing kit because obviously it's smaller than like a giant like leg waxing kit or something. And it comes in the box. You get some wooden spatulas. I already used all the ones in the box, so I had to order more. I just got these online and they came in multiple sizes, and I've got some tiny ones as well that are for brows that I never use. It also comes with a pre-wax cleanser, which is super helpful, and an after wax treatment lotion, and that is everything you get in the box. And then I use the Hive waxing discs for it, and that is for sensitive skin, because I have a terrible habit. Number one, I pick my skin a lot, which is why you'll be able to see in the close-up that I'm hopefully going to do, that my skin is covered in tiny scabs because I am a skin picker, and I find that with waxing my face always breaks out a wee bit. I get quite a few like spots underneath, and sometimes I get the odd ingrowing hair when it's coming back as well, and that is a nightmare because I just pick and pick and pick. So I find the sensitive wax is better and stops me breaking out. It also makes my skin less red immediately, which is great because I actually have a social engagement this evening, and I need to wax for that. So I don't want to be like bright red like I always used to be with like non-sensitive wax. So the Hive brow waxing kit, you can get it online. For anyone that is interested in waxing their own face. I don't recommend waxing your own face, but I do it anyway, and I'm doing it on camera. So this is my beard. You can see it's this actually isn't, oh my god, the extreme zoom in. This actually isn't the full extent of my facial hair growth. It does get a lot longer and a lot darker, but I tend to like cut it back with little scissors like a gardener in between waxes if it gets too long, so it's not the full extent. I actually have a TikTok on my account that you can see the full extent. It is significantly darker and more obvious than this. And then I get all these little ones up here which are much finer, but I tend to just rip them out. And here as well, this side is worse for some reason. So I always use disposable cotton rounds for this, just purely because it's really messy and I tend to end up a really big mess. I'm just gonna make a start and we're just gonna have a chat about periods, because some interesting stuff has been happening with my PCOS. And I think it's been about a year since I last did a video on PCOS. So I've got some stuff to catch you up on. There have been some changes in my periods and my hormonal behaviors. The biggest one of which is, for the longest time, I'm talking maybe 3 years of my life, every time I finished a period, my period would end and then I would instantly live with like the sorest boobs on the planet, like seriously painful, like to the point where I could barely even wear like a sports bra. And that would last for the entire month until my next period, and then during my period I would get a few days of reprieve and then it would immediately come back once my period was done. That was not fun. I was in a lot of pain, and even just like getting dressed in the morning or trying to lie on my side in bed was so fucking uncomfortable. Like I couldn't, I wasn't very good at dealing with it, to be honest. It made me super grouchy. Anyway, that has gone away, which is weird because it turns out the thing with, it's not chronic pain in the sense that, you know, it's a chronic pain condition, but the thing with being constantly in pain with something is that you don't realize you've gotten used to it until it's gone away. No more sore titties, which is amazing, don't get me wrong, but now what's happened is that has been replaced by absolutely zero indication that my period is arriving. So I do track my periods, and I know that at the moment I'm going through a phase of my periods being fairly regular. They're happening every month, they're not overly delayed or overly early, but it always takes me by surprise, because if they're like a couple of days late, then I start to think, okay, well maybe this is the time that it's like I'm just gonna like skip a period or something, because that happens quite a lot with PCOS. Only to find that the next time I sneeze, game on. So that's really fun. Hate that. Honestly, I'd rather have the warning, because I always used to have the warning, and now I have no warning, and it just shows up. Thankfully, I work from home and I hardly ever go anywhere, so nothing other than my own sheets and clothing have been ruined. But even so, I'm not fucking thrilled about that, let me tell you. So, apropos of absolutely nothing, you apply the wax in the direction that the hair grows, okay? I don't know why I'm doing this like a fucking tutorial, like anyone wants to learn how to wax from me. And then get rid of that stick. So yeah, so now I don't get any warning whatsoever about my periods. And the other thing that's happening is, as if they weren't heavy enough already, my the first 2 days now, I describe it as like the Battle of the Somme. It's 100% Shark Week down there. Like, it's an absolute fucking mess now, and I just feel like shit. However, that is the other advantage of working from home and hardly ever going anywhere, is that I can basically give myself 2 days a month period leave, and I don't have to worry about feeling bad about it or like I'm letting anyone else down. Not that I think anyone who has periods should feel like they're letting someone down if they physically cannot get up and go to work. I think that is an absolutely horrendous situation to be in. So once the wax is cool, pull the skin, rip it off. Well, she says easier to handle and then immediately fucks up. So yeah, so that's fun. And I'm finding, as I'm getting older, everything about my PCOS is changing, and I'm getting to the point now where I have no idea what 1 month is gonna look like from the last. Like, there's no consistency. Like, okay, fine, I don't have sore tits anymore, but everything else hurts for the first 2 days of my period. Then my period can either be early or late, thankfully only by a few days currently. My hormone levels are all over the place, like the sugar craving and the constant hunger that even people who just have regular periods without a condition will experience. That is so much worse with PCOS, and it's getting worse as I get older with PCOS as well. I've spoken to a few people who have said that their PCOS improved after having children. Now, I don't really know how I feel about that, because I just needed to get rid of that bit, because I don't know if Dan and I are having children. Oh, that's a really good one. All right, warning, if you're squeamish, don't look at this. Love that. Also, it just like feels really nice. Anyway. What was I saying? Yeah, so a few people have said to me that their PCOS improved after having babies. I don't know if I'm having babies, but one of the big things with PCOS is that it can also affect your fertility, which makes sense because sometimes it can cause you to not have regular periods. Sometimes your periods can be incredibly odd and different, and it can just be an absolute fucking hot mess, frankly. So I don't know if I'm having kids. I don't even know if having kids would be an option because of my PCOS. Like, it would probably be more difficult for me than for someone else. And, you know, don't get me wrong, like, at this point in my life, I'm honestly, like, leaving it up to fate. And I understand that that is an incredibly privileged position to be in, to not have to test and deal with IVF or any kind of fertility treatment like that, to not have to be worried about it. I think, like, yeah, like, the idea is nice of having children, but for me personally, if it never happened, then I would still be okay without, I think. But if it does happen, that would obviously be delightful. Like, I would love that. But that's a very privileged position to be in, and I am very aware of that. So I certainly, like, I never begrudge anyone the idea of going to a doctor or a fertility specialist or anything like that. Like, if you're struggling and you want a baby, like, you have every right to just do that. For me personally, we're leaving it up to chance. If it happens, then it happens. And don't get me wrong, like, that's not to say that people who go through all of that in order to have a kid are less or are other. I think we're all in the same boat when it comes to our fertility, especially when we have something going on that causes it to be a struggle. I think we all go through that slight pang of sadness or maybe even jealousy when someone announces that they're pregnant and it came so easily to them. But my my personal feelings on children are just that if it happened, great, and if it doesn't happen, then I'll be okay without. So I'm not gonna put myself through all of that work for something that I'm okay without, you know? And I fully appreciate how people feel about fertility treatments and everything like that. And I am 100% in every sense of the word pro-choice when it comes to everything reproductive. And I'm leaving the choice of whether or not I have children entirely up to the fates. Whatever happens, happens. I'm just not strong enough, to be honest, to go through fertility stuff the way some people do, and I think it's incredible to me when people go through so much heartbreak in order to have a baby. And I just think that that level of dedication to being a mother is just something that I can't relate to. Like, it doesn't work that way for me personally, but I think they're amazing, the people who go through that, you know? Oh, that one was rubbish too. I can't take the worry otherwise. Like, I think I've just got too much, like, general anxiety, to be honest, to think too much on that. So I'm kind of taking the coward's way out and sort of choosing to ignore it, frankly. But, you know, seemingly PCOS improves after having babies. And if I ever have a baby and my PCOS improves, I will 100% tell you guys that, because you know me, I love to overshare. But in the meantime, I'm just over here waxing my face on the internet and hoping that it helps people, because there's nothing worse than feeling like you're completely alone in stuff like this. And it does feel like that, to be honest. Especially when you're surrounded, like my friends and my mum and Dan's mum and like everyone around me with a uterus. No one experiences this the same. You know, there's a couple of people that I know who do also have diagnosed PCOS, and the rest of them, there's absolutely no reproductive problems, hormonal issues, nothing like that going on with any of them. And it's the... Do you know what gets me the worst about that? Is the fact that these people, I could be on the phone to them and they could go, oh, my period's due in 10 minutes. That's obviously an exaggeration, but do you know what I mean? Like, they know exactly when it's happening, and then it happens. And I'm over here like, oh, okay, can't relate. They're like the train stations, the train lines of fucking periods and reproductive health. Like, it's bang on the minute, and I'm just like, right, can't relate. I'm more of a janky bus service, I think. This one's gonna really hurt, by the way, because this is really thick, and I hate this bit. Oh, oh God, that one's good too. Oh yeah, by the way, I should probably add an extra trigger warning just here for blood, just in case, because I might rip the scab off something. The other thing, that one wasn't so good. The other thing that has started happening with my PCOS, and I goddamn hate the fact that this is part of it. A few months ago, I had really bad sciatica, and it lasted for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me what was wrong with me. And I figured I'd maybe just slept funny because, you know, 31 now, and that's what happens, isn't it? You sleep funny. Couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, thought maybe I just slept funny, and then weeks and weeks and weeks of excruciating pain went by, and I was actually starting to adjust to living in constant pain, just like I was when my tits were always sore. And then I finally buckled and got an appointment with a chiropractor. And she listened to my history and she took one look at me and she said, oh, it's because of your PCOS. Great. Just great. I was in excruciating pain. Could barely stand straight. Was having to sleep with a pillow between my knees because I always sleep on my side. Was walking around my house with a hot water bottle strapped to me. Was on an incredibly intensive religious course of ibuprofen. The only yoga I could do was yoga specifically for sciatica or lower back pain. It was awful. So she wasn't a chiropractor. Oh my god, she's a physio. Sorry, doing a disservice to this amazing woman that I spoke to. So I had a Zoom call, because that was also, funnily enough, the week that Dan and I had COVID. So I had a Zoom call with her and she was amazing. And she took one look at me, and she was a physio who had worked with probably thousands of patients over the course of her career that have had a multitude of issues. And she's worked with a lot of women with PCOS and endometriosis. And she has personal experience of those conditions and treating those conditions in her professional life, and it was amazing. She took one look at me through a webcam and went, it's your PCOS, this is what you need to do. And she told me exactly what was happening, and for anyone that might be suffering with a sore back and has PCOS, you might want to get a chat with a physio that knows their stuff about women, okay? This is important. A physio that understands women's health and hormonal conditions like PCOS or whatever. Go and find a physio like that, speak to them, because what happens is your ligaments in your pelvis move slightly every month during your cycle, and when you're pregnant and you go into labor, those ligaments move to massively expand your pelvis to allow the baby to pass through, obviously. But with PCOS, and I can't speak for other conditions, but with PCOS, the ligaments move much more every single month, and it puts a lot of strain on the lower back. And I do get a really sore lower back, to be honest. I've got quite a weak back, and every period I get a really bad back. Like, the back pain is just horrendous. But this sciatica was lasting for weeks and weeks and weeks, and when I finally caved and went and spoke to my physio, who is a brilliant woman, she's genius, she went, oh yeah, it's your PCOS. Your hormones are moving and expanding your pelvis too much every month. So what's happening is you'll move your right leg, for example, and your pelvis will twist to accommodate that movement, but the left side of your pelvis is too separated from the right side, so it won't move. So that moves, but this doesn't move. So then they're moving separately and getting all fucky with all the nerves and the ligaments and everything like that in your lower back and in your hips. And it shoots down your leg. If the pain stops at your knee, then she said that's what it is. So that was incredible. I was really annoyed that yet again something had happened to me that was caused by this fucking condition. Like, honestly, it drives me mad a lot of the time. But also it was kind of a relief to know that it wasn't like an age thing. That sounds so stupid. I'm 31, I'm not dying, but I was a little bit concerned that it was just gonna be like, oh yeah, this is just your life now, like you just live like this now. And that thankfully was not the case. It is thankfully a condition that I can manage and that I can mitigate the symptoms of. So what I've had to do now is I've started a course of pelvic floor exercises, and when I work out I focus very strongly on my core specifically, and I also, when I'm doing yoga and things like that, I'll always try and like really focus on my core and my abdominal muscles so that I can build them up to support my back, and pelvic floor exercises as well. So then you've got your abs, your pelvic floor, and then your lower back is somewhere over here, and the two of them together just sync up and help support your back and your pelvis and keep everything nice and stable and mitigate the extra movement that's happening in your pelvis during your cycle. So Jesus Christ, like, that was incredible. It was such an easy fix as well. And I started doing dedicated ab workouts because by that point, by the time I had an appointment with her, my back was nowhere near as sore. So I started doing dedicated ab workouts for like 12 minutes a day, and I very, very quickly saw a difference. And now I'm noticing that if my back is a little bit tender for whatever reason, like if I've been sitting awkwardly for too long, or if I've slept awkwardly or something like that, if I just engage my abs as I'm moving around, then the pain eventually subsides and goes away. And thankfully I haven't had any more sciatica since that appointment. I have been able to manage it, and I have been able to not be constantly popping ibuprofen every single day, which is just like the worst thing in the world. I hate taking medication anyway. I only take painkillers if I'm in very, very severe pain. I could be hit by a fucking Mack truck and I'd be like, no, it's fine, I'll just walk it off. Like, I don't, I'm not one of those people that just instantly goes for the painkillers. So yeah, that was good. I use the smaller ones for my lip so that I don't accidentally wax my fucking mouth shut. Because, you know, it would be terrible if I stopped talking so much. So pick off the majority of the wax, and then the tea tree and camphor after wax treatment lotion, which I always manage to spray everywhere and get entirely too much of, so I'm gonna try and not embarrass myself today. Ooh, hopefully that'll be enough. I always put quite a bit of that on. Honestly, just because I don't have control over this annoying style of bottle. See that? Did you see that? Oh my god. Every time I open it, it just like explodes. I don't know why. So I tend to accidentally use a ton of that lotion. But it's okay because it smells good and it's nice and cooling. So you can see how red it goes, but that'll fade in the next like hour or two. And by that point, there won't be any redness and it will just be nice and smooth, baby skin. And then I can start picking all these little spots. Because that's my favorite thing to do, apparently. Anyway, so I have absolutely zero idea how long that took me to film. It felt like a really long time and it felt like I was talking for ages. So I'm gonna go and get myself a cup of tea and stop this now. But that's me. Ready for a night on the town, Jesus Christ. If you enjoyed this video, hit that ring bell button to be notified every time I upload a new video, which is the first Sunday of every month at 12 PM GMT. And please hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.